Go Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today the Padres take on the Milwaukee Brewers in the second game of a 4-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Brewers, right-hander Colin Ray, and for the Padres, right-hander Dylan Cease. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 6:40 for Game 2 of this 4-game set. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, you'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Plus, a little bit later, we hear from reliever Tom Cosgrove. He was recalled from AAA El Paso earlier today, back inside the Padres clubhouse. So we'll hear from Tom Cosgrove, obviously a left-hander that played a very big role in last year's team. And, of course, a little bit later, we'll have our keys to the game, a full look at this pitching matchup between Cease and Ray. And in just a little bit, we're joined by Bob Scanlon. But first, let's set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside. Padres entered today with a record of 39-40. Padres have bounced back after a 5-game losing skid with 2 consecutive wins, one against the Phillies and one against the Brewers. Padres have hit a walk-off home run in 3 consecutive home games, going back to last week against the A's. They are the first team in Major League history to ever hit a bottom-of-the-ninth inning walk-off home run in 3 straight home games. Meanwhile, the Brewers come in 44-31. They sit in first place in the NL Central. Brewers have still won 8 of their last 13 games despite losing last night. It was another fun ending here at Petco Park last night. Let's run it back.
How did the Padres fare in their last game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind. Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
The Padres trailed 1-0 in the first inning. There were 2 on for Manny Machado.
Manny waits. Here it comes. And Machado swings, hits it in the air to deep right field. Frelick is back towards the corner. He's at the wall, looking up, gonna go! 3-run homer, Manny Machado. Just like that, the Padres lead it 3-1 here in the first.
The Padres weren't done. Jackson Merrill was next.
0-2 hit in the air. Deep to right field towards the pole. Jackson Merrill has done it again. 9th of the season for Merrill. Goes deep in back-to-back games and has now homered 3 times in his last 2 games here at Petco Park. It's 4-1.
The score stayed 4-1 for a while. Adam Mazur allowed a 2-run home run to Willy Adames in the top of the 5th inning to make it 4-3. In the bottom half of the 5th, Fernando Tatis Jr. got one of those runs right back.
That's it in the air to deep left field. Forget it. Yelich not even going to turn around. Second deck in left, and Fernando, with his 14th of the year, extends the lead. 446 feet. And his 3rd hit of the night. Padres in front 5-3.
Padres led 6-3 going to the top of the 8th inning. Bryce Terang hit an RBI single to make it 6-4. In the top of the 9th, Jeremiah Estrada entered. The Brewers had base runners. They made it a 6-5 game as a run scored on a wild pitch. Rhys Hoskins came to the plate with the tying run on second base.
Here's the 2-2. Hoskins swings, muscles it in the air to deep left field as Zokar's going back. He will leap up, can't make the catch, hits against the wall. This will tie the game. Bowers has scored. Hoskins hit his second with an RBI double, and it's 6-6.
Estrada would get it to the bottom half of the 9th inning, still tied at 6, and then we took a little walk-off trip to the Crone Zone.
Pitch number 7 on the way, and Cronenworth swings, hits it in the air to deep right field. Way back, gonna go! For the 3rd consecutive game here at Petco Park, the Padres hit a walk-off home run. Higashioka and Merrill, and now Jake Cronenworth, who throws his helmet as he approaches home plate. The Padres beat the Brewers 7-6.
Padres with 3 consecutive walk-off home runs in as many home games for the first time in franchise history. What a moment, what an ending last night. Padres beat the Milwaukee Brewers by a final score of 7-6. And now the Padres will go for a third straight win here today in Game 2 of this 4-game set. Let's go inside the Padres radio booth.
Let's go inside the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup from Bob Scanlon in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Bob, let's begin with the move that the Padres made earlier today. That was recalling left-hander Tom Cosgrove from AAA El Paso. Cosgrove back in the Padres bullpen. Had a major sent back down to AAA. Scan, let's focus on the Cosgrove part of it. It's easy to forget how good this guy was last season, what a key part he was of the Padres bullpen. And Scan, it just feels like if Tom can recapture what he did last year, that would be a major boost for this pen. Certainly hope he can do it.
Oh, no question about it. And he was dominant, as you mentioned, last season. He ended up posting, a 1.75 earned run average in 54 appearances? Not too bad. And it's interesting because he really just started learning how to throw from that low three-quarter, below three-quarter slot, actually, last year when he was coming back from arm surgery. And, for a while down in the minor leagues, he got the fastball going. It took him a while to get the feel for the slider. But once he figured out that slider, Sam, that's when he was up in the big leagues pretty quickly, and he dominated big league hitters with it. Now, in spring training, he just wasn't quite as effective. The slider was still there. It was the fastball command that had left him. And in talking to Tom, it was some things that, he was working on some things in the offseason, trying to improve himself, working on some different pitches, and he think that it may have, disrupted his timing in his delivery a little bit to affect the command on his fastball. So he's been working on that. He's been throwing the ball a lot better down in AAA. And it's great to see him back. So I'm hoping that we get to see the same Tom Cosgrove that we saw last year because he was such an important part of this pen. Padres could certainly use some additional help, especially with how much innings the pen has been having to wear lately. So good to see him back, and hopefully he's able to contribute and pick up what we saw last season.
Let's stay on the pitching. Right-hander Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres here today. Coming off a rough start in New York against the Mets, 3 2/3 innings, 7 runs given up. And Scan, you look at the numbers, the last 7 starts, it's a 6+ ERA in 37 innings. He's given up 9 home runs in those last 7 starts. To you, what does Dylan Cease need to do to get back to the guy that we saw over the first month of the season?
It's pretty simple. It's a command, both of the fastball and the slider. More for the fastball for me than the slider. The slider is really never going to be, I shouldn't say never. You don't have to be as fine with that when you're spotting your 97-mile-an-hour heater. When you're spotting that fastball, it gives you all kinds of grace in the rest of the strike zone with your slider. And he just hasn't had that same fastball command. So I know that he and Ruben have been working on it, talked to Dylan about it multiple times over the last few weeks. And, it wasn't like a major overhaul needing type thing. It was more of a fine-tuning thing with some of the mechanical stuff. And we've seen,
right.
You talk about the last 7 outings, but let's be honest, it wasn't like they've all been terrible. There have been a couple of rough ones for sure, the last one in New York, and he just wasn't as dominant on a consistent basis. So it's there. It's just doing it more consistently, and we'll talk about it more in the broadcast of specifically what he's trying to do with Ruben to get himself back on track. But it's not like he's been that far away from it. The stuff is still there. It's just been a command issue, and hopefully it's a little sharper today because we've seen what he can do when he's putting that fastball where he wants to.
Scan, I'm going to ask you a similar question as to what I asked Mike Shildt earlier today, because you look at the 39-40 record for the Padres. Not everything has been perfect for this team, but with that said, they've had a lot of nights like last night where they've been able to rise to the occasion, come up with a big hit, certainly the comeback wins. There have been a number of them in the first half of the season that you can go back and point to and really consider them some really big moments, some really good wins, comeback wins. Scan, when you do that throughout the course of a first half, what does it do for a team, for a clubhouse, as far as maybe having some sort of anchor point despite the natural ups and downs of a 162-game schedule?
Well, I think it's, Sam, I'm I'm going to not put the cart before the horse in that we've seen these wins, and sometimes you need those types of wins to give your team confidence and a sense of, hey, this is worth fighting for. But I think it's the opposite case in this situation. I think the fight has been there with this club, and those have been the rewards of that. And obviously it helps, right? I mean, it gives you a confidence of, shoot, we're down by 3 runs. What's the big deal? We saw them down by 5 earlier in the season, and they came back, and I think that sort of sets a tone of, we can do this. We're capable of doing this. And on top of that, Sam, it's not like we need to do something differently than we're trying to do to get those results. In other words, we're trying to hit balls up the middle. We're trying to use the big part of the field. Oh, shoot, we're down by 5. Let's start swinging for the fences and hope for the best. It's not that. They're staying with their approach. They're staying with playing solid defense. They're staying with trying to hit the ball back up the middle. And then because you're doing that, you're putting yourself in a position to be able to make these types of comeback victories. So it's a combination of things. It's not just, oh, wow, we've gotten lucky a few times and we ran, our big boy ran into the ball and, it worked out. It's more, I think it's a reflection of the process that's been in place in spring training that Mike Shildt and his coaching staff has instilled in these guys. And not just the coaching staff instilled in them, Sam. It's what these guys have demanded of themselves, which has been a big part of Mike Shildt's approach. It's not, hey, we're a coaching staff. We're going to come in here and tell you what you guys have to do and tell you what you're supposed to do. It's been an approach of, look, guys, we're in this thing together. What do you think we need to do? How can we help you accomplish that and keep all of us on accountability with it? And I think that type of thing has stability to it over the course of the season. So that's why I'm so encouraged by it. I feel like it's not just luck. It's not just randomly a couple guys getting hot at the right time. This is the effect of a process that's been in place from the beginning, and you're seeing the results of it even when they're missing Joe Musgrove, even when they're missing Yu Darvish, even when Manny's trying to come back from injury and you're missing Xander Bogaerts. All these things that could really cause a team to implode, they're fighting it, and I don't think it's by accident. So better times ahead, and this fight has been fun to watch.
Yeah, well said, Scan, and I'm totally with you. I think despite the ups and downs of this first half, there has been that identity really from the very early part of the season, and certainly the last 3 home games with the way they've won them on walk-off home runs. It's been that kind of stuff as far as being able to rise to the moment and being able to figure out ways to how to win games. Scan, as always, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Jesse coming up at 6:30 here at Petco Park. Thanks so much.
Always fun talking with you, Sam. Thanks.
Oh, all right, that is Bob Scanlon joining us here on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for this one in downtown San Diego. It is a stunningly beautiful Friday evening here in America's finest city. Plenty of sunshine out there still. Bright blue sky. Should be a very, very nice night for baseball as the Padres look for a second straight win against the Brew Crew and a 3rd consecutive overall win on the City Connect Friday evening. When we come back, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, plus a little bit later, we hear from reliever Tom Cosgrove, plus our keys to the game, and much, much more to come. First pitch coming up at 6:40. You're listening to the Padres Radio Network. Welcome back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. Your water perfected. EcoWater SoCal. Your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we walk you up towards first pitch coming up at 6:40 here in America's finest city. Game 2 of this 4-game series between the Padres and the Brewers. A quick look at the Padres lineup here today because the original lineup ended up being a little bit different than what the lineup later would become. That was because Luis Campusano was a late scratch from the lineup here today. Kyle Higashioka doing the catching for the Padres. We'll hear from Mike Shildt on that in a moment. But just quickly a look at the Padres lineup here tonight. Luis Ariz at first base leading off. Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field batting second. Jurickson Profar in left field batting third. Jake Cronenworth at second base batting cleanup. Manny Machado, the third baseman, batting fifth. Jackson Merrill in center field batting sixth. David Peralta, the DH, batting seventh. Ha-Sung Kim at shortstop batting eighth. And Kyle Higashioka doing the catching, batting ninth. Luis Campusano originally in the lineup, and then he was scratched shortly before Mike Shildt spoke with the media today. So with that in mind, let's hear from the Padre manager.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
So the 3 consecutive walk-off home runs here at Petco, we've never seen that before in San Diego, so that's pretty cool. When you take a look at the guys who have contributed to them, so we see Higgy, a guy who doesn't play all the time, Merrill, rookie, and then you got Cronenworth, a guy who's done it a few times. How special is it to see so many different types of guys doing it?
It's really cool. It's really special. I've never seen it. I was talking to a good friend of mine who's been in the game a long time this morning, and he brought that up. He's like, 3 walk-off homers in a row? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, have you ever seen it? And I'm like, no, have you? He's like, nope, not even close. So it's clearly historic and special, and it also speaks to the collectiveness we have with this club of a lot of contribution of guys stepping up and playing the game and helping us win.
Now, the Brewers are a team that they play really close games. They're notorious for comeback wins, but yesterday you didn't give them a chance to do that. This team is one that really has become one that's known for facing adversity and overcoming it. What can you say about how last night and then the 2 prior home games here were reminders of that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we put that on display pretty much from the beginning of the season. In Korea, I mean, our first game was a dogfight. Came up on the short end and then came out the next night with 5 in the first and had a lot of pushback and kept adding on. And it really established for me the identity of what we are about and how we're going to compete. And we've been able to do that pretty much all year. And so that's a great trait. Sometimes we run out of game for that to happen, and the other time it tries as well. But the resilience component and the not giving anything away in competition is a really special trait that not every team can have, and our team does.
Tom Cosgrove called back up. What are you hoping he can contribute to the bullpen?
Good to see Tommy back. I mean, he was a big part of our club last year that pitched well, and looking for him to come in and throw strikes and get a lot of quick outs. That'd be the recipe for what we're looking for from Tommy, and he's done it, and we're excited to have him back.
And Higgy in over Campy today. Is that just to give Campy a day off, or?
No, Campy was in the lineup, so we got Higgy in there today. Campy showed up with some thumb soreness and bruising and a contusion from a ball he caught from Yuki last night. I don't think we're overly concerned about it, but nonetheless, it's limiting him for today, and we'll see what it looks like moving forward.
That's the same thumb that he dealt with last season, I assume?
I believe that's accurate. Yes. According to we made the switch. I just got through. I heard about it, and here we are. So I don't want to misspeak. My initial what I've heard is it's not in a similar area, and there's concern relative to the actual injury, but not relative to what he's had in the past. That could clearly change, AJ. I'm just giving you the little bit of information I've got.
With Dylan Cease, obviously he got off to such an excellent start. The last handful of outings, maybe a little bit rockier.
How does he get back on track, or more like what we saw at the very start of the year?
Yeah, he's at a really high bar. I mean, he's on a pretty good clip, Cy Young caliber clip, and that's a tough one to maintain. But he clearly has that expectation. So I think when we held him to the initial standard at the beginning of the year, yeah, it's been a little bit of regression. He'd be the first to say it, but it's not like it's been bad. The last outing he got hit early, and they were able to get to him and score some runs. But beyond that, he's pitched really well for us, and I expect him to pitch exceptionally well tonight.
Mike, when you have a win like last night, some of the types of comebacks you've had this year, does it serve as sort of an anchor point, when you go through the ups and downs naturally of an 162-game season, of what your identity is when you have those types of wins?
Yeah, I think we've been able to, I think we can all recount some of the games that have created those identities, down 8-0 here at home against Chicago and come back and win. And, we've come back a fair amount. I don't know what the numbers are relative to the league. The 4 walk-offs already, not even the halfway point, speak to that. Candidly, it's okay just to win 6-3 and not be in that position. But, those positions happen and we're able to execute. And so it just strengthens our identity and ingrains it even more. And it continues to springboard us moving forward. But we've had a lot of those instances, a few of which I've mentioned, that have allowed us to get to that point.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt before today's game. We'll hear more from Mike on our post-game show coming up a little bit later on this evening after Game 2 of this 4-game series. Let's tell you now who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
We begin with a look at the hot category. Let's begin with Jurickson Profar. He's now reached base in 21 of his last 22 games, a .418 on-base percentage in that span, collecting a hit in 17 of those games at a .325 average in that span with 3 home runs and 16 RBIs. He continues to be absolutely terrific for this Padres lineup. Jackson Merrill and the power in particular also in the hot category. Merrill has 6 home runs in his last 8 games, 10 extra base hits in his last 14 games. This was really an incredible note from OptaStats last night. With the home run yesterday, Jackson Merrill is the second center fielder aged 21 or younger to have hit at least 6 home runs in an 8-game span. The other is Willie Mays, who did it in 1951. So quite the company for Jackson Merrill as far as what he's doing right now with the power. And we'll see what else Merrill has in store here tonight. For the Brewers in the hot category, Christian Yelich, his last 9 games, batting .353 with a couple of doubles and a home run. As far as the not category, we take a look at one Padre tonight. Ha-Seong Kim, 0 for 3 last night. Now Kim just 4 for 29 in his last 10 games. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not, as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 6:40 here in downtown San Diego. When we come back, we'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, and we hear from Padre reliever Tom Cosgrove. I thought Tom had a lot of good things to say earlier today. Some really interesting comments from Tom as he makes his way back to the major leagues after getting sent back down to AAA earlier this season, so you'll want to stay tuned for that. We also dive much deeper into our pitching matchup here tonight between Dylan Cease and Colin Ray. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues after this. I'm Sam Levitt on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 6:40 between the Padres and the Milwaukee Brewers, Game 2 of this 4-game series. A lot of people here inside the Western Metal Building enjoying their beers, enjoying their mixed drinks, enjoying their food. I think I see a Gaglione Brothers cheesesteak a couple of tables away, so everybody having a good time on this Friday night as we get ready for Padres baseball. Let's quickly update you on the injuries for the Padres entering this one.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
A quick look at the injuries because we already heard from Mike Shildt about the situation with Luis Campusano. Again, if you missed it, Campusano was in the lineup today for the Padres, but he was scratched as he deals with what Mike Shildt called soreness and bruising in his left thumb. And right now, unclear if it's something that will be serious enough for Campusano to go on the IL, but at least for today, Campusano not in the lineup. Kyle Higashioka is. I also don't know, quite frankly, what his availability is off the bench today. And something you should note as a Padres fan today, the emergency catcher would be Tyler Wade. If the Padres absolutely needed him, they don't hope to need him, but if they did need an emergency catcher, it would be Tyler Wade. And Wade did put on some catcher's gear today during pregame and did some stuff behind the plate just to be ready. You totally get it. So that's the situation with the catching for the Padres, at least for today. Higashioka in the lineup, Campusano a scratch from the lineup. The other update that you probably know from yesterday, Yu Darvish will return to the Padres rotation this next turn around. We're still waiting on official word from the Padres on what day that is going to be, but it certainly seems like he may just slide right into Adam Mazur's spot in the rotation, but certainly that's good news on Yu Darvish. He should be back very, very soon, and those are the most pertinent updates on the injury front today as the Padres get ready to take on the Brew Crew. Let's take a quick look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
We take a look at scores from around the major leagues. A couple of finals already. Mets beat up on the Cubs 11-1 in Chicago. A rough outing, really the first rough outing in his major league career for Shota Imanaga. The Mets have won 8 in a row. They beat up the Cubs and Imanaga 11-1. Tigers beat the White Sox 2-1 in Detroit. Carson Kelly a home run in that game for the Tigers. Games going on right now, a lot of them. Diamondbacks leading the Phillies 4-2 in Philadelphia in the 7th inning. Rays 7, Pirates 3, 8th inning in Pittsburgh. Braves ahead of the Yankees in New York 8-1 in the 6th inning. Reds lead the Red Sox 5-2 in Cincinnati in the 7th. Mariners and the Marlins tied at 2 in Miami in the 8th inning. Guardians ahead of the Blue Jays 7-1 in Cleveland in the 7th. It's the Royals 1, the Rangers 1, 4th inning in Arlington. Orioles and the Astros tied at 2 in Houston in the 3rd. Nationals and the Rockies in Colorado in the 2nd. They're scoreless there. Games yet to begin. Twins and the A's in Oakland at 6. Angels in L.A. against the Dodgers at 7:10. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Friday night across the major leagues. Well, the Padres making a transaction earlier today. Left-hander Tom Cosgrove recalled from AAA El Paso. The corresponding move, Adam Mazur sent back down to AAA El Paso. Tom Cosgrove, let's just take a big look at what he's been in his major league career so far. Last year, obviously, a very, very big part of the Padres bullpen. 1.75 ERA. In 54 appearances. He was one of the really good stories for the Padres last season, how good and important he was out of the bullpen. Obviously, the early part of this season in the major leagues for Tom didn't go nearly as well. A 10.50 ERA in 15 appearances. The Padres elected to send him down. That was back in early May. Early on for Cosgrove in the PCL, things weren't going that well, but he's pitched much better in the month of June. In fact, 6 total innings in June. He has not given up a hit or a run. So Cosgrove seems to, at the AAA level, really found it again. We'll see how that translates to the major league level. I thought Tom had a lot of interesting things to say earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse.
I think I was just like going through a really long funk. I mean, it happens to dudes, and it just took me a while to get out of it. But I think once I started getting on time, everything just kind of started falling together.
Was that a mechanical thing to get on time too?
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, it was a whole bunch of stuff. It's hard to put my finger on one thing, but for the most part, I think it was mechanical.
When you get a big ERA, how does that affect the way you're pitching? Like, you get a big ERA and then it takes a while to get it down, especially as a reliever. You don't get a whole lot of bites at the apple.
Yeah, I mean, the ERA tells a story, but I could have a 0 ERA for the rest of the year, and so what? Whatever my ERA is, it is. Like, if I help the team win some games, stick around, it's cool with me. So.
I think it's like second year just can be tougher in general, finding your way.
I don't think it had anything to do with what time in my career it was. I think it was just more of it was just my turn to go bad for a little bit, and it took me a while to get it right for whatever reason. Last year was my first full season throwing from the side. I didn't have any cues to go back to, and I was going good, but I was just rolling. I didn't know what I was doing good. I didn't know what I was doing bad. Yeah, last year I was what was I doing good? I'm looking at these videos of me pitching. I'm like, yeah, it looks good, but I don't know. I don't have cues. I don't know what it is really. And then it started going bad, and I'm like, I see where it's bad, but I don't know why it's going bad. So
when you're going through that, what do you do? What are some of the ways you try to get out of it, I guess? How hard is that?
I had people asking me what do you need? And I was like, it's like a question. It's like something you never want to answer a question to. It's I don't know. So it's just trial and error, really.
You work some of your weaknesses, but obviously you also get to work on what your strengths are.
Mm-hmm.
Talking a little bit, finding that balance, just keeping what is working with something that's not really working.
Yeah, it was pretty simple, really. My fastball metrics just weren't what they used to be. I didn't have the sinker I had. I didn't have the four seam I had, and those are things I relied on. And when you kind of don't have those things to lean back on, you kind of feel handcuffed out there, and it just took me a while to find it and get it going again.
Any words of wisdom from Ruben Niebla now that
Yeah, Ruben was grinding for me for sure. He was he might have been more torn up about it than I was, but I had a lot of help from Scott, AAA, Ruben here, Fritz here. They were constantly in touch with me, helping me out, so I was really lucky. Who knows how long it would have taken without those dudes, but yeah, they helped me out big time.
Tom, as you try to work on stuff down there, is that a difficult place at all to work on stuff just because it is so hitter friendly in the PCL?
That's what people say, but I had I came up pitching there, and I had metrics of my stuff from 2022, 2023 of me pitching there, and I'm it was moving here last year. That's not it's hard for me to be there, and people be maybe it's the elevation now, and it's dry, and but I was but if you go back to 2022 and 23 when I was pitching here, my stuff was moving, so it really wasn't an excuse for me. But yeah, it got better, and once it clicked, it seemed it kind of just clicked. So.
How much of it all do you keep tabs on what's happening up here while you're working on stuff down there?
Honestly, none at all.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty bad for me. It's out of my hands, really, and I know all these guys here. I want everybody to do well. It's just when they need me, That's it.
I feel like your fastball and all that is back to what it was. The metrics, the readings, and stuff like that. I'll track mine.
I kind of stopped looking at it, to be honest. I would pitch and I would come back after the inning. I go right to the iPad, and it was just no good for me. When I started getting dudes out, I kind of just assumed that it was where it needed to be. So.
Too much information sometimes, you don't need it.
Yeah, I just kind of tried to switch it up as much as I could. When it wasn't going well, it was just all right, what else can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do? And it was kind of discouraging. You think you find something, and you go out, and then you get hit again. And I'm all right, well, keep going. And like I said, like once I started getting dudes out, I wasn't really looking at my metrics and stuff like that too much.
Good stuff there from Tom Cosgrove earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse. We'll see how Tom does as he returns to the major leagues. Padres could certainly use him as a key part of their bullpen. First pitch coming up at 6:40 here in downtown San Diego. Let's give you our keys to the game.
How will the Padres unlock a victory in today's game? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Honor Buick GMC Hummer in National City.
Key number one, the Dylan Cease slider. It's been a rocky stretch for Dylan Cease as of late. We'll get more into some of the numbers later, but one reason for his struggles, the effectiveness of his slider. In his first 8 starts of the season, the opponent batting average against that slider was 119. In his last 7 starts, the opponent batting average has been 288. So that is a huge, huge difference. 119 to 288. How Cease uses that slider, how he does against Brewer hitters with that slider, that's a big key for Dylan Cease tonight. That's key number one. Key number two, bullpen control. Here's what I mean by that. Last night, the Padres bullpen walked 5 batters in the final 3 innings of the game. Yuki Matsui's 20.5% walk rate in his past 20 games is the highest in the major leagues among pitchers who have thrown more than 10 innings since May 1st. That note from Kevin Acee this morning in the San Diego Union Tribune. Past 18 games, the Padres bullpen has a 5.27 ERA, a 2.94 opponent batting average. Like you heard, help is here. Tom Cosgrove has been recalled from AAA El Paso. But the bullpen having better command, not walking guys like they did last night, that's a big key in this one. That's key number 2. And key number 3, keep hitting the home run. The Padres' last 7 games at home, they've combined to hit 19 home runs. That's tied for the most home runs hit in the major leagues at home in that span. It's also the most home runs the Padres have hit at home in any 7-game span since 2020. So the home run ball has been a big, big key in these last 3 home wins for the Padres, really going back to that start of the series against the A's. We'll see if the Padres can keep the bats cooking here tonight. The home run ball has been a big key as of late here at home. Padres could certainly use more of that. And that's a look at our keys to the game as we get ready for Game 2 of this 4-game series. When we come back, we tell you what to watch for in today's game. We also take a much deeper dive into today's pitching matchup between Dylan Cease and Colin Ray. First pitch coming up at 6:40 on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for Game 2 of this 4-game series. Let's tell you what to watch for in tonight's game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in tonight's game was last night the start of another Fernando Tatis Jr. heater. 4 hits last night, including a 446-foot home run. It was Tatis's longest home run since the one he hit out of Dodger Stadium in 2021. Although he had a tougher road trip, Tatis is in the midst of a really great month of June, batting .370 with a .644 slugging percentage in 19 games this month, 5 home runs in the month of June. So, what to watch for tonight? Does the 4-hit night for Fernando yesterday, does that propel him on another really hot stretch? We'll see how it goes here tonight in Game 2 of this 4-game set. Let's dive into our pitching matchup between Dylan Cease and Colin Ray.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview. Presented by Chimney Sweeps, Inc., San Diego's trusted chimney and fireplace service company for 40 years. Call Chimney Sweeps, Inc. at 1-800-CHIMNEY or book an inspection online at chimneysweepsinc.com.
Right-hander Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres, 6-6, a 3.95 ERA in 15 starts this year. Last start against the Mets, his worst start of the season, 3 2/3 innings, 7 runs given up. His last 7 starts have been rocky, a 6.27 ERA in 37 innings. He's given up 9 home runs in those last 7 starts. Cease beat the Brewers back on April 16th in Milwaukee. He went 6 innings, gave up 1 run. Meanwhile, right-hander Colin Ray on the mound for the Brew Crew, originally a 12th-round pick by the Padres back in 2011 out of Indiana State. This season, 6-2, a 3.29 ERA in 14 outings, 12 starts. He faced the Reds on Sunday, gave up 3 runs in 6 innings. Last 5 outings, he's been really good, a 1.93 ERA in 28 innings, a 190 opponent batting average in that span. This will be Ray's second career start against the Padres. He pitched here last season, went 5 2/3 innings, gave up 1 run. That 1 run came on a home run for Manny Machado. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup between Dylan Cease and Colin Ray. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal, your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. When we come back, Jesse Agler, Bob Scanlon have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and then all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game show. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.